Hey, how's it going? Today I would like to show you some of the new Python 3.8 features. Today I will be using a Jupyter notebook because the Google Collaboration notebook doesn't support the Python 3.8 yet. So inside the Jupyter notebook, I'm going to first check the current version of my Python, and I can do it like so. And as we can see, I am running the newest version of Python, which is currently 3.8.3. Okay, so let's look at some of the features. Now, the first feature that I'm going to talk about it is the assignment expression, which is which has a new syntax, which basically assigns values to variables as part of a larger expression. Now, this expression is oftentimes known as a Walrus operator because of its resemblance of the eyes and tusks of Walrus. Now, for those who don't know, this is how the Walrus look like. Yeah, I didn't know that, so this is what I'm showing you. And okay, so in the older version of Python, you would do something like this, where you would assign a variable value to a variable, and then you would proceed with the variable. Now, in this newest version of Python, you can do this in one line, where you assign a value to a variable, and then you actually proceed with the variable itself. Now, how this can be useful? Let's say that we have a list which has 11 elements in, and we want to first check whether the length of the list is greater than 10. And then we also want to assign this length of the list to a variable and use this variable inside our expression itself. So inside the new Python, we can do it like so. And this is a slightly more compact syntax than it would be in the older versions of Python. Now, let's look at another example. Let's say that we want to get a list of user inputs and in a continuous loop and exit the loop if the user enters quit or exit, or sorry, quit queue or quit. Now, in the older versions of Python, we can do it like so. So let's enter some inputs, and yeah, and this is how it could be implemented in the older version of Python. But here in the newest version, we can simplify this. I would say this syntax slightly, and do it like so, where we first create a inputs list, then we ask a user for input, we assign the input into a variable, and at the same time we also check if the input is within the list. If it's not, we are going to append the output or the user input to our list, and if it is not, if it is inside the queue or quit, if it is equivalent to queue or quit, we are going to exit out of the loop. Now if we run this and we input the same um, inputs and compare the list, we can see that the input lists are actually the same. Yeah, so one thing to keep in mind is that everything can be done without the Walrus expression. It is just a minor convenience and can make syntax slightly easier, but at the same time, I mean, less lines of code, but at the same time can make the syntax slightly harder to read. Like, I guess it's kind of personal. So another feature that I'm going to talk about is the positional only parameters. And there is a new function parameter syntax, a forward slash, that indicates that some function parameters must be specified positionally and cannot be used as keyboard arguments. So this positional only arguments parameter can be seen in the help function, in the float function, where the float function takes one argument, and then in the implementation we can see the forward slash, which basically states that all the argument or parameters before the forward slash has to be a positional parameters only. So what does this mean? Now, let's say we have a float or an integer, like sorry, a string like this, and we pass it to a float. We can see that we will, 3.8 will be returned. Now, let's say that we assign this value to a variable x and then we execute. We can see that we receive an error because the first parameter has to be a positional parameter only, and it cannot be uh, considered as a keyword argument. So let's define a function like so, with the forward slash stating that the first two parameters are positional arguments only, and then the second two parameters can be a positional parameters but also can be a keyword argument. Now we have these two functions which both should be valid, because in the first case all of these are mm, positional arguments or parameters, and in the second example the first two are positional and the last two are keyword arguments. And this is correct because only the first two parameters are the positional parameters only. Now, if we want to assign a second parameter as a keyword argument, we are going to receive an error because the function got some positional arguments passed as a keyword arguments b, which is not allowed because we specified it as a keyword, positional parameter only. Now, this positional argument can be complemented with the keyword arguments only, which are denoted by the star, and it basically means that all the parameters which are defined after the C has to be a keyword argument. Okay, so let's look at the first two cases where we have a function and then the first two parameters are positional and the last one is a keyword argument. And in the second case, we have first a positional parameter and then the second two parameters are keyword argument. And again, this is correct. Now we can see that the B, since it's not before the slash nor after the um, um, star asterisk, it can be used as a positional but also as a keyword argument at the same time. Now, what if we would pass the third parameter as a positional parameter? Now, if we run this, we are going to receive an error because this third parameter has to be a keyword argument. And now, if we pass it like so, where we define the first argument as a positional parameter, again, we are going to receive an error. Now, the last feature that I'm going to talk about is the support of the equivalent sign for the f strings. Now, the f strings, like this one, for example, will be expanded to the expression name, the equal sign, and then the representation of the evaluated expression. So first of all, I want to show you that you can use the Walrus expressions inside the f strings as well. So first of all, we define the some of the variables, and now we are defining or assigning a d, the diameter, as 2 times of the radius, and then with this assigned diameter, we are calculating the circumference of the circle by multiplying pi with this diameter and then formatting the string to 2 decimal points. So if you run this example, we can see that we have returned the diameter and then the evaluated expression. Now, in this last example, I want to show you the equal sign support. So beforehand this was impossible, but now you can define the expression with the equal sign. And let's remove this for now. And when we run this, we can see that this will actually return the label of the expression, the equal sign over here, but also the evaluated expression itself. Now previously, if you would just keep the R here without the equal sign, you would just return the evaluated expression. But now with the R, sorry, with the equal sign, um, the expression name, um, but also the equal sign will be returned. Now we can format this like previously. Over here we are formatting the output to the 5 decimal points, but we also can do something like this. And we can also move this around, this equal sign, and this is just going to format the output. Yes, so these are the new features in Python 3.8, and that's pretty much it. So thank you for watching.